Okay, this is the critical lap. This is the critical lap. Confirm.
Leave me alone. I know what to do.
Hey, Daniel. How are you?
I'm good, Ruben. Great to see you, man.
Man,
How was the weekend?
It was good. It was good. There was racing. We had some racing. Got to watch a little bit of that. I'm tricked out, if you didn't notice, in my Canadian plaid.
In your lumberjack outfit?
Yep. I know you were wondering, what my plaid shirt is boot, eh? And
what's that about?
what it's about is we had a great race. It was a pretty good race. It was a good race. It was racing. I'll take
It was
racing.
a mostly okay race.
Hey,
Yeah.
it was a
race.
It was an okay race, but I will take racing over an off weekend any day.
For
Do you know what I mean?
sure.
If I'm going to spend my Sunday afternoon watching
show.
a race or watching the feeds to see whether we have an update on Lance Stroll's wrist or a penalty update for Verstappen, I'd rather watch racing. So yeah, it's a good weekend.
Yeah. Give me that that thing that you can't really replicate.
Yeah.
In any other sport, which is just those developing 90 or so minutes of just action.
Yeah.
And just the ever changing odds of outcomes.
Yeah.
You
never know. Now,
you don't.
It might be that nothing really happens, but you never know. So you watch every
yeah,
lap.
I mean it's the mountain, right? It's
Yeah.
it's the climb. It's not the mountain.
Yeah.
It's the mountain. It's not the mountain. It's the climb.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the journey. It's not the destination. So like
If-
I'm in it for the anticipation. So if there's some anticipation of something happening, that's just as good
That's right. That's right.
as something happening.
If you want to be here for the last laps of the Spanish Grand Prix, you have to love Formula One at its Monacos and its Canadian Grand Prix. They're a little slow at times.
If you don't love me at my Canadian Grand Prix, then you don't deserve me.
If you don't love me at my
At
Monaco, you don't deserve me at my
at
Monza.
my Monzas. Yeah.
Uh,
I was just trying to think of like maybe like the most exciting race of the season, and I'm like,
was it
Bahrain? Was it?
We still don't even. Do we even know yet what the most exciting race? Of
Well, I mean, so
2025 is?
far, I guess.
So far.
Yeah.
Bahrain was good. All right. Well, we got a bunch to cover. It not necessarily all from the race because spoiler alert, it was not the most mind-blowingly fascinating race, but there was a lot there to unpack. Got some big names, so today we'll kind of unpack the Canadian Grand Prix, some big news updates or what's going on what stories we were watching going into this. A couple big news updates there, and so let's kick things off. Welcome back to the Critical Lap, or welcome to the
back,
Critical
everyone.
Lap if you're new. We thanks for listening. This is your one critical lap around the F1 news for the week, and this week the Canadian Grand Prix. I am one of your hosts, Ruben. I've been in Formula One, watching Formula One, a big Formula One fan here for a little while, but not nearly as long as Daniel, who's my co-host here across the microphone for me. Daniel, how are you?
Great.
Yeah.
Great. I have been in it for a minute or two longer than Ruben. I'm what you might call an armchair expert.
Yes.
I know a thing or two about laminar flow.
Yeah, that's right. More than I
and
do.
tire compounds.
More than I do.
And the ever-changing obscure rules of the sport.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about it.
I had a note once to go look up laminar flow, and then I thought, no, I'm going to let that be your thing. That's going to be the thing you know about.
I will look it up.
Yeah. Do you like how did you love the subtle insult there? Like, that'll be the one thing you know, and I'll know everything else.
Well, that'll be your only strong suit.
Yeah.
And anytime we need to know about laminar flow, which is basically never, we'll kick it over to Daniel.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's get into it. Let's recap the Canadian Grand Prix. Spoiler alerts. This is your last chance to bail out before we cover the big news. With the win. What is it? Our fifth winner of the season? I think we're only on five. I think we've only had McLarens and Verstappen. So this will be our fourth winner of the season, George Russell.
Are you sure?
Don't count Hamilton. If you don't count Hamilton's sprint.
If you don't count Hamilton's sprint, yeah.
Then I think it's only our fourth winner of the season. George Russell. Yeah. George Russell pulls out the win. Verstappen picks up another second place. This guy is not going quietly into the night. you might say.
I will eat some words that I have spoken on previous episodes that
Okay.
the gap is being built between the front and Verstappen, and I think those mathematical odds are. I'm learning what mathematics are now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we all are. As we watch Ferrari and Mercedes switch positions for second place in the championship, two teams that we both thought were really going to be struggling. Uh, they both doing pretty well and putting up a great fight for second in the championship. George Russell becomes the fourth Grand Prix winner of the 2025 season, joining Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, and Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen takes second place. Nice, hard fought battle the entire time. And big round of applause for Kimi Antonelli, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, for his first podium in F1. Third place finish for Kimi Antonelli. And again, a great race from him. A hard fight the whole time. I mean, granted, the McLarens, we'll get to that in a bit, made it a little easier for him right there at the end. But a good race for Antonelli, and he was pretty excited. Toto Wolff sounded like a proud dad on the radio at the end of the race.
He got a little jab from Russell on the radio. Something about he kind of gave him like a little, not a mocking, I would say, just kind of impersonated him and talked about how he had a good day. Maybe that's just what Toto says all the time. But back to Antonelli,
Yeah,
I don't really get excited for Antonelli doing well because I'm just like, this guy's going to be around for a long time.
right.
He is going to
Right.
blow our minds as soon as he has like a season or two under his belt and he's in a good car, which it seems like Mercedes is becoming a better and better car. So if he, like, I truly believe Toto placed the right bet. He's got what Max Verstappen was to Red Bull in 2016, 16, I think is when he finally stepped into the Red Bull. That is what we're going to see out of Antonelli if Mercedes can keep that form going and that improvement going with the car.
Well, I mean, whether they can or not, they may not be able to keep Antonelli, right? If they can't keep that form going, then we may not see Antonelli at Mercedes. But I think you're right either
True.
way. I think we're going to see Antonelli performing pretty well throughout his career, no matter where he is. Yeah, great day
Yeah,
from Kimi.
after all, he is Italian.
He is
Last
Italian,
I
and
checked.
as we've been told repeatedly, he's the youngest F1 driver to do many things. Walk along the Canadian Grand Prix circuit. I don't know. He's what his tally of youngest F1
Well,
driver.
yeah. So
record
this
up
week,
to.
and we're just like taking a hard left here, but this week he got third youngest podium sitter, podium stander, podium finisher.
Okay.
Behind, didn't know this trivia. Lance Stroll is the second youngest podium finisher in Formula One. That is
Okay.
correct. Lance Stroll.
Okay.
Lance Stroll.
All right, Lance. We see you.
We see you, Lance.
All right. Well, fourth place, Oscar Piastri. McLaren's had a quiet day. It should have been fourth and fifth, Oscar and Norris, or fourth and fifth, Norris and Oscar, or I guess Norris and Piastri if I'm using surnames or first names. But there was a little incident there, so we only see one McLaren finishing that race. And then we got the two Ferraris in fifth and sixth place, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. And rounding out the top 10 was Fernando Alonso in seventh. More points, 6 points for Fernando. He's rapidly gaining points. And Nico Hulkenberg, Esteban Ocon in ninth, and Carlos Sainz in 10th. So, hey, cheers to Carlos Sainz for getting on the board. I had a note that one of the losers of the weekend was the Williams team. Sainz scrapped a little bit back right there at the end, but Albon had a really bad day. So, but top 10, a good mix in there. To be honest, I thought Ferrari was going to come out a little stronger. I thought they were looking pretty good, and then it seemed like they faltered a little bit. I don't know if they were just struggling with the tire compounds that they gave, but yeah, Ferrari just didn't see a whole lot of Ferrari. They were pretty quiet, decent laps in qualifying, and then in the race, I think Hamilton even kind of called it out on the radio at some point, just kind of lost in the middle there.
Yeah, they I mean, I don't know. There was a safety car at the end, so they did you wouldn't it doesn't really show like how far behind they were. Seemed like at the end of the race there was a pretty good, even before the safety car, there was a pretty good bunching of the most competitive teams. It seemed like there hadn't been like a true advantage for anybody. Um, and as you said, little incident helped Antonelli out. And honestly, Ruben, I think we should wait till like the last, I don't know, 20 to 30 seconds of this episode to tell anybody what happened, because that is the treatment that we got on Sunday,
Right.
where it was literally like if you thought Spain was like a all the way till the end, nothing's happening, or not, most of the action happens at the end. Like,
Right.
just wait.
Right.
Just wait till you see this race.
Do you know, I would wait till the end, although I think I already spoiled it, because if we were actually doing that, what I would have said was Piastri and Norris finished 5th and 6th, and I wouldn't have said anything else. And then right at the end of this
Yeah.
episode, I'd be like, oh no, Norris crashed
You would
out.
have just rugged the entire audience. Just shoop.
Yep, the whole way through we would have just pretended. No, I mean that was a big moment. I think the only reason I do want to jump into that moment, because we talked about this last time we had a conversation. I mentioned that there was a lot of media buzz where they were asking Lando Norris and Piastri, like, when are you two finally going to get into it and finally have this big clash? And I made a comment, which of course it's like, as soon as you make the comment, they prove you wrong. Where I said, well, hey, you got to be wheel to wheel for that to ever happen, right? Like right now, they've been driving around, staying out of each other's way, and things have turned out the way they've turned out, right? One has a great week, the other has a quiet week, and then vice versa. This week, they literally did exactly what I said that they had not been doing. They went wheel to wheel for a couple laps. Norris seemed to have the pace, was catching Piastri right up against
even
him,
though he didn't really qualify that well, had really great pace.
Yeah. Had really great pace had really great race pace. I mean, in general, it feels like Norris does have really good race pace. Either he qualifies really well and then drops a few places at the beginning with a bad start, or he doesn't qualify well and he starts 7th and then he still makes up a bunch of places. He's solid in the races. He just needs to put it all together to get a really good qualifying and race all at once. But it really did feel kind of unlucky, the move. Daniel, I don't know. Let's break that down a little bit. The move, Norris on Piastri, final laps of the race. What was it? Probably lap 70 or 68?
I think it was
67?
68 of 70. So
Okay.
the race did finish under safety car, and
Yeah, that's
it made
right.
for a really underwhelming finish. Unfortunately, I kind of felt bad for George, because the commentators were like squeezing every bit of enthusiasm they had out to get
Try to hype
that
everybody
kind of
back up.
to kind of hype up the and we have our winner or whatever. But yeah, so if you haven't seen the race yet, again, spoiler alert, lap 68 of 70, Norris finally catches up to Piastri, and maybe in lap 67 he pulls this like very Norris move, which he's pulled before at the Canadian Grand Prix, where he goes hard on the brakes, or late on the brakes, I should say, in that hairpin, that classic hairpin
Turn
that's
10.
just like
Yeah.
semicircular, at the opposite end of the track, and gets ahead of Piastri. And Piastri is obviously clawing his way back. He's obviously got DRS right away because they're super close to each other and whatever. Well, Piastri kind of gets the place back, but after so it's turn 10, straightaway, chicane, straightaway. After that chicane and the straightaway, Norris is basically about to blow past Piastri.
Right.
He's got DRS. He's got the pace advantage. I think his tires are maybe a little bit fresher. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like he flipped the coin. And, he said, heads, I turn left, tails, I turn right.
He's in that
And
slipstream. He's catching up real fast. He's got to swerve one side or the other.
It's almost like I can't even wait for Piastri to react. I just have to choose a move and commit.
Yep.
And, he
picked
went
the wrong side. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Piastri,
almost an exact replication. I mean, I know it's not the same, and someone listen, let us know in the comments how they're completely different. But there was almost an exact similar situation in 2011 with Lewis Hamilton and Jenson Button.
Jenson Button.
It's not exactly the same. He didn't have the same. Let me be clear. The Norris one yesterday, the best angle of that, go watch it, is the perspective from Norris's car, where it's really obvious what he was doing. He was in the slipstream. Like you said, he had to make a snap decision which side to go around. He pulls left and realizes instantly there's not enough room. And at that point, he can't slow down enough and just clips that back tire.
Yeah, there
Um,
is a wall going down that straight, so he can't just keep going wider and wider to get around. Even if he could drop his wheels into the grass,
right,
which I think maybe an earlier part of that straight does have some grass, and then the later part doesn't.
right.
But he just didn't have enough room, and he wasn't alongside Piastri to where Piastri would be forced to give him a car's width.
Yep.
Piastri would, he's ahead. He can pick whatever line he wants. Excuse
Yep.
me, as long as he's not breaking under pressure.
Yeah.
Sorry, Crispy. And basically, he just, like I said, Norris just went left because that's the choice that he had made in his mind. That was the play that he called in his mind.
Yep. Yeah.
Regardless of Piastri.
And they said too, there were a couple of those moves where he got Piastri offline. So I think there was an element there too of it was just a split second decision, a literal nanosecond decision. Had he braked a little faster, he would have just tucked in behind Piastri. Piastri might have been offline a little bit going into that next turn or next chicane, but he just didn't clip the back tire. It literally, I've not seen this yet. He hit the back wheel of Piastri, and it effectively just sucked his front wing up under the wheel, and then dragged Norris into the wall, tore off his left front wheel, and that was kind of it for his whole race. But
Yeah, it was
unfortunate.
crazy that such a high speed incident and collision didn't result in worse
Yeah,
carnage. I saw the car not really breaking apart and just thought, wow, what's that's I think that's how tight onto the margins it was that Norris mostly had control of it the whole time. He just couldn't keep it together
yeah,
without his front wing and with that sudden jolt of
yeah.
change of direction or whatever it is.
I mean, I will say it was really mostly just a sudden ending to a really good battle. I was really excited to see what was going to happen next, and then it's kind of a non-incident. He apologized immediately, came over the radio. I
Yeah,
think it's
totally took responsibility for it, which
yeah.
I thought was pretty cool.
Well, and I sometimes I feel like you do this just walking around sometimes where you're going to go walk by somebody who's got their back to you and you cut left or right and they move at the last second and you just awkwardly bump into them, and it had the exact same feel to that. I thought you were going to say when he made that turn, when he made that hard braking turn to turn 10, I think it is, that big hairpin turn and cut across, that the audience there finally got to see something interesting, because I think for the entire race, all they watched was the Brad Pitt F1 movie trailer over and over again on that
Uh-huh.
little. There was like
Uh-huh.
an advertisement board, and every single time they showed action at that hairpin, there was, I thought they would show the leaderboard or some move that was happening elsewhere on the track, and it was just Brad Pitt looking stressed out.
Why would you
Fantastic.
waste such primo
Yeah.
real estate?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't need any convincing. I'm gonna go see the movie.
Right. Like, presumably
Uh,
the people at turn 10 of the Canadian Grand Prix are also going to see the F1 movie. You can stop advertising, you know?
yeah, yeah.
It's like the
Why aren't
people.
we trying to capture the non F1 audience here?
Yeah. This is the old joke of the people advertising cheese, right? Like, you can stop. We're going to buy cheese. We got it. Like, you don't have to tell us anymore that you have it. Yeah, and I saw that turn every time they had a shot there, which was 20 or 30 times throughout the race. I saw so much of the Brad Pitt preview that I didn't want to see it anymore. I can only imagine, the families sitting there with their little kids just watching that over and over again. But anyway. All right, big moment there for the McLarens, knocked them out. It still doesn't put them anywhere close. No, they're nowhere in reach right now in terms of first place in the constructors. But Mercedes does move up to second place in the constructors championship. That Mercedes Ferrari battle, if Ferrari can stay in the race, should be a really fun battle throughout the season. And then then you got Team Max really still fighting along for fourth and still within reach of third place. So a nice second, third, fourth place constructor battle heating up. Alpine has really just fallen off the map. They had a rough weekend and
Yeah, yeah.
nothing to
No
show
hope
for
for
it.
them. No manifestation of the promise we had when they brought an upgrade a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. But I'm going to give it to Nico Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg. Another good weekend, another good haul of points. And he is now in 11th place as drivers, which is pretty notable given the car that he's in.
Yeah, and for all the credit we keep giving Hadjar, he's 1 point behind Hadjar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. 1 point behind Hadjar, 2 behind Esteban Ocon. So he's doing well, and at the moment above, well, a lot of other good drivers: Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Yuki Tsunoda. So we'll see if he can continue the pace. But it honestly seems like their car has moved up in. Oh, excuse me.
It sure has, Ruben. It sure has.
It's easy for me to say. Their car has moved up
And
into.
tell us how you feel about it. I know you're passionate about Kick Sauber and Hulkenberg, so
You know,
you know,
who doesn't love that good lime green? I do
right.
love Nico Hulkenberg. I think he might be the subplot that I hope most for in F1 is, can he get a podium at some point? You know, I want to be there to see Nico Hulkenberg get his first podium. That's probably it for the race. Honestly, there was a little bit of action right off the bat. Everybody stayed pretty close together. I guess on a positive note in the race, there was a fair amount of close running with cars. There were a fair number of overtakes, just not particularly exciting overtakes. It came down to a lot of tire strategy. We probably need to talk about tires a little bit. The softs were basically entirely useless. The mediums
Totally
were
useless.
I mean,
The mediums were the softs from last year.
well, I was going to say we
So-
probably should talk about that. There's not just a red tire and a yellow tire and a white tire, soft, medium, and hard. There is C6, C5, or I should say C3, C4, C5, and then this year C6, which is even softer. It appears to be made of partially cooked sourdough. It's lasts for like a lap, if that, the soft tires. So the soft tires came out a little bit in qualifying, and then a lot of the cars kept putting on mediums to get through qualifying, and we're finding faster pace with the mediums. And the mediums made
Yeah.
it maybe 15 laps during the race.
What I
before they
found
fell off.
interesting was there was a huge shift in track temperature. So for some reason there was a pretty decent, comfortable temperature. I think it was like 25 degrees, but the track was somehow like 50 degrees.
Yeah.
On race day. But during qualifying, I think there was some overcast conditions, and so the track really didn't heat up. So you didn't really have the degradation during qualifying, and at the same time, you didn't really have enough heat, which I don't know. I don't know
To get
how
the
that
pace.
plays for the soft versus medium versus hard. I assume this might be a good question for some better educated people in our audience to answer for us, but I would assume that you need more heat for that hard tire to fire up. You need a little bit less for the medium, a little bit less for the soft. But if the soft is just too soft, like you're saying, it's basically, I don't know if it's the hyper soft from years past or what level of softness it is versus what we've had before. But when the track got super hot the next day, it basically just rendered that tire completely useless
Totally.
because
Yeah.
degradation wasn't bad. I don't even think it was that bad on race day. It just, I think if anybody had opted for the soft, it just
Yeah.
wouldn't have
Yeah.
lasted
I
very
think
long.
the only even possibility of it was near the end, they asked Norris if he would want softs if there was a safety car. But
Right.
that
Right.
was
And I
a
think there
total
were maybe
hypothetical.
12 laps to go when
Yeah.
they asked him that.
Yeah.
And then I think they also asked, I think Leclerc made a comment that no, the softs are a good tire for me, and that he would be happy to go on the softs. I don't know if it was Leclerc or somebody else.
I don't know. Maybe because Leclerc was mad when they called him in so early on those hards.
Oh
It
man,
was
there was
basically
so much tension between Leclerc and his pit crew.
well, and even the announcers kind of called
race.
it out because effectively, again, if you didn't watch or if you weren't kind of paying close attention, everyone started on one of two strategies. You either started on the mediums, did a short stint, and switched to the hards. You had to have at least one switch or one change in tire compounds, or you started on the hards. A lot of the teams started on hards or drivers started on hards and attempted to do a first long stint. And Leclerc got on the radio,
And
I
it
think,
worked.
and it worked.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And it worked, especially for Lando. It worked for Lando.
Yeah.
He didn't qualify that well, but he started on the hards and worked his way back up.
Yeah, because those mediums just fell off really fast. Uh, Albon was the worst example, or I guess the best example, depending on how you want to count it, of those medium of the tire strategy and those mediums in particular, just leaving him out there. At one point, he was on mediums. Well, I don't even know how many laps it was. Maybe 20 laps. Yeah,
Yeah.
20 laps in.
I think 27, wasn't it? When did he pit?
The radio message he had was 21, lap 21. I know I made a note of that. So it was like lap 20, 21. He was on a set of mediums and just they were blowing past him on the hards. So again, I think Daniel, here's my problem with this soft, medium, hard. I get it. Thank you very much. Listen, I'm a relative newcomer to F1. Making them red and yellow and white is very helpful to know what tires they're on. But we can handle it if you will tell us the C. Just call them C6, C5, C4. We can handle it because in some respect, it's frustrating to me to be watching and think, well, he's on the hards. Why can't he go further? Or he's on the mediums. I don't, it's only 15 laps. What's the big deal? And then to realize he's effectively on the softs, right?
Yeah.
Like you're effectively on what is considered a qualifying tire.
And that's a really good call out because then all you have to remember is 1 the softest or is 6 the softest,
Right.
right? Back in the day, and I don't know how long ago this was. I think it only lasted 1 year. They did just give every single compound a name.
Okay.
And I don't think they went so far as to call one tire on one end of the spectrum like ultra hard.
Okay.
Like that wouldn't have played very well.
Sure.
But there was like hard, medium, soft, ultra soft, and then hyper soft. So I think 5 compounds plus the wets was kind of the lineup. So today, maybe because they wanted 6 compounds, they were like, well, we can't call one tire the ultra hard or the extra hard or whatever. So we just have to go C1 through C6. And then we'll just paint them the right color for each race. I don't really know.
But they weren't cool names. They were just like ultra hard and stuff. It wasn't like
I think they started with hard. I think it was just hard
because that's a tire company thing to do. You go to pick out tires and you're like, I mean, we have like the Bridgestone Stormbreakers, and you're like, I don't need a what is that? Is that a normal tire?
I've bought a set of tires where they're like, do you want the lightning bolts or the spaceships?
Oh,
and I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, we can mount the tire on one side. The tread comes down the sidewall with like a little lightning bolt. And on the other side, it's this other design. We don't know what it is.
I didn't know you were this much fancier than me. That's pretty impressive. So what'd you go with?
I went with spaceships. I have to go out. I'd have to go out in the driveway and check. I forget. In fact,
that sounds very fancy to me.
Today, my tires, I've had tire degradation sort of in an uneven pattern on a certain tire, depending on which corner it's on.
Okay.
And I'm thinking I'm going to go back to the tire shop and be like, hey, can we just flip the tire on the rim?
Yeah.
We're way off here. This is not what the podcast is about. Skip forward if you 30
this
second
is tire
bumps.
Compounds. This is hugely relevant to our audience. Yeah. I'm just
anticipating this tire shop being like, no, buddy, you want to fix this? You got to buy a new tire. We can't, for safety reasons or something, flip this tire around. But I'm going to remind them like, no, buddy, you asked me if I wanted spaceships or lightning bolts. So
I've changed my mind.
And now
remind me again what I have. Spaceships. I want lightning bolts.
I want the lightning bolts.
Okay. Well,
anyway,
I think
back to Formula One.
No, I think that would make, honestly, it would be really helpful if they would call the C6 tire the lightning bolt. And call the C5 tire the spaceship. And then whenever they raced, instead of being confused, we could all realize, yeah, but he's on that spaceship. It's not going to last as long as, Anyway.
I do think that we could have had like a hard, a medium, a medium, a soft, an ultra soft, a hyper soft,
XXL,
an unbelievably soft.
Yeah. Super totally hard one. Yeah. That I think would be good. I think it'd be useful. It would be helpful to me. The tire strategy ended up being a big deal when you got your tires. Had one of the saddest messages from Albon. There were several good messages, but Albon's message, I really don't know why you don't listen to me. It really annoys me.
It really annoys me.
Just something that would come up in a normal conversation in your kitchen with just someone you knew.
Like you
and your wife in the kitchen.
You walk around the corner of your kitchen and there's like a broken egg on the floor, and you look down and you're like, I don't know why you don't listen to me.
I don't know.
It really annoys me.
It really.
I told you not to leave the eggs just free balling on the counter.
I really think we should have put on the spaceship tires. And you never listened to me. Albon is such a nice guy. He's almost too nice though. That message just sounded so. He's having a great season too. Part of me does want Albon to kind of step up a little bit and be like, no, listen to me. I'm coming into the pits. You have...
I am the captain now.
Yeah. You have 10, maybe 11 seconds to get those tires out in the pit lane. Because at one point, Leclerc said, I don't want new tires. And they were like, wow, Leclerc just calling it. He just called plan C or plan B or whatever it was. And then they're like, wow, that's impressive. He doesn't even ask. He just tells them. And then the next lap, they're like, box.
The honey badger doesn't care. The honey badger takes what he wants.
But the funny part was they're like, wow, well, they called him in anyway. And I think it was, what's his name? The Scot.
David Coulthard.
Thank you, David Coulthard. He's like, well, they can't change your tires if you don't pull into the pit. Like he had a choice if he wanted to just keep going, but
Right.
a lot of drivers,
which I'm sure David Coulthard in his day has just been like, no,
Yeah.
I'm staying out. I feel like there hasn't been as much of that lately. I feel like years past, you would just see like, okay, so the engineers have called Hamilton into the pits this lap. So he sounds like he'll be changing tires soon, and then like, oh no, he stayed out. He
all
just
the
stayed out.
mechanics
That's not
come
what we
out of the
expected.
pit and then just
Yeah.
I think probably they should have done that. I mean, granted, I don't know if it would have had a huge impact for either Albon or for Leclerc, but maybe it would have made them feel better. Albon had a pretty rough day one way or the other. So
I feel like Williams, like they can't just, I don't know. I feel like if they just kept getting better and better and better, they would end the year like second or third in the constructors.
Yeah.
I guess it's just more realistic for them to kind of have ebbs and flows or cycles of competitiveness. But I don't know. I as you know, if you've been listening to our broadcasting here this season, I've been so hopeful and so confident in Williams' ability.
Yeah. I mean, they've been doing well. They're almost twice. They have about almost 2 times as many points as Haas. In 5th place right now. Williams is in 5th place. Haas is in 6th. They've got almost double the points of Haas, and then Red Bull's 3 times as many points. So they can hold 5th if they can perform at the same level throughout the season. I think they shouldn't have a problem holding on to 5th. Unless I think probably Racing Bulls is your next best option to pick up the pace and suddenly catch up. But well, it was a sad day for Albon. Tough message hearing that kind of sad message. A little less spunky than I think it was China when he said, "I'm the best one. I have the best degradation out here." Not the same thing. I think he only got topped by Fernando Alonso's radio message this week. In terms of sassy radio messages, where
We are racing, not testing.
we are racing, not testing. His engineers calling him, what did they say? Here we go. This was the
gentle entry 3 and 8. Gentle entry 3 and 8.
Gentle entry 3 and 8. And then just the
We are racing, not testing.
we're racing, not testing. I'm gonna hang on to that phrase and just use it in everyday life. Slow down. We're racing, not testing. The next time I'm driving and my wife is like, "What's the rush?" We are racing, not testing.
Speaking of driving and Formula One references,
Mhm.
my significant other she's had it up to here.
Mm.
She will not tolerate any Formula One comments when we're driving. If we're ever in traffic and we're like super slow, I'm like, we should go ahead and get gas. It's always better to pit under the safety car. And she's like, no, that does not apply here. That's not how this works. And I'm like, no, it really does. Like, we will lose less time on this trip.
Yeah.
If we get gas now, if we just go
pit stop penalty is way lower under the safety car.
Right.
That's right.
It's only 18 seconds instead of 25. Please listen to me.
I just always whisper under my breath, like when I'm merging onto a highway, like hit the apex. And my wife is like, "What?" I'm like, nothing.
What? No.
Just driving, doing my job.
Just gonna be gentle and
wringing the neck out of this suburban vehicle. Anyway, that's about it. Hey, some big names were back this week. Just want to give a quick shout out to the one and the only Davide Valsecchi, or as we like to call him in America,
it's me.
Dave Valsecchi. Dave Valsecchi was out.
Big Dave.
He was out there speaking about the Formula One. Man, that guy, he's so cheerful.
The energy he brings is peerless. There's no one with that energy.
What I love is when they'll pan to him, they'll be like down in the pit lane watching the cars, Davide Valsecchi. And they pan to him, and he'll be so excited. He'll be like, "It's just such a great day for Formula One," and he'll talk for like 2 minutes, maybe 30 seconds. I don't know. And then he'll just be like, "I'm gonna watch now," and turn around and just watch the cars go by. And they're like, "Well, that's it from the pit lane." He can't be bothered to talk too much. He just wants to watch the cars go by. So I love that.
He is a driver. He is a former driver himself. He probably has a pretty strong passion for the whole thing.
Yeah.
If it were me, I would have a hard time facing the camera instead of facing the action, to be honest.
They'd be like, "Say something." I'd be like, "Oh, this is really cool." There goes Verstappen. Lance Stroll was back, and Daniel, his wrist was okay. I know this because I watched his driver cam on his car.
Totally
and
fine.
He had perfectly good grip. I think they hesitated specifically on his hand because for a while they showed his driver view when there was nothing really happening in his cockpit, and they showed him for several turns. You remember back in like 2 years ago when he hurt his wrist and they put him back in the car and everybody thought it was a little early, and he had a right hand turn and that left hand came over and he took it off entirely. And they were commenting on that's not safe if your wrist can't take that torque, take that angle.
Yeah.
I specifically watched, and he kept the grip all the way over. That wrist is fine.
So my understanding that there is some power assist turn in the Formula One cars, as opposed to IndyCar and I think NASCAR too. The drivers in IndyCar and NASCAR are trained to let go of the wheel in any incident. Like any incident where they're not going to be able to recover, just get your hands off the wheel.
Yeah.
Because if anything snaps, you're going to have it. You're going to injure yourself. So I'm so surprised, even in Formula One with the power assist or whatever. Maybe there's not a 1-to-1 ratio to turn to articulation or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm so surprised that this close to post surgery, they're like willing to risk being out there and whatever. What happened during? Is it FP2? When did he hit the wall? I think it was FP2 when he had the red, or he caused the red flag for hitting the wall. To me, it's like if you just had a procedure done, which that's all they've ever called it so far, is a procedure.
Just a procedure.
Just a procedure.
Just like a massage.
They trimmed his fingernails. That's just a quick procedure. I don't know. I feel like there's no I can't imagine me. I have a career in a sport where my hands are the most important thing. Well, they connect me to the car in a certain way.
I
wouldn't
not
risk
buying
it. I don't know.
I'm not buying it. It could not have been an invasive procedure. It could not have been.
No.
I'm not buying that. You can't heal a cut up in 2 weeks on a wrist or on your hand. When was the last time you cut your knuckle open? And it doesn't heal in 2 weeks. It takes forever. I'm not buying it. Full torque on that hand, and no indication of any issue. I don't know. That just seems unlikely to me. So, listen, and we, like you said, I think it's the same thing, right? Because that was what Danny Rick said when he had his accident. He didn't take his hands off the wheel fast enough. And that's how he broke his hand, and Liam Lawson got his shot. Worked out for him. Lance Stroll was back, and Max Verstappen was back. No further penalties. We decided 3 penalty points was enough, and he was allowed to race, albeit carefully. So that's about it in terms of the news. Should we do some quick reactions? What do you got?
Well, something to keep an eye on, guys, is there's a pretty good little spread here between drivers in the driver championship standings. 22 points, Piastri to Norris. 21 points, Norris to Verstappen. 19 points, Verstappen to Russell.
Yep.
So
starting to put a little gap in here.
I would say that the spread is widening between these four, but Verstappen and Russell seem to be in the car that is gaining ground in terms of performance. McLaren's still dominant by all metrics, except maybe qualifying this week. However, the performance edging up of these other cars could indicate a pretty close run here. We're not even halfway through the season, and we're seeing pretty strong competition here at the top. So something to keep an eye on, something that I'm enjoying watching, to be honest. So again, reasons to love the sport.
It does seem like it's a really fun year. I mean, to be honest, credit where it's due. Verstappen is keeping it even more fun with a fourth car in the championship contender. It's all Verstappen, right?
I mean, he's keeping it fun in other ways as well,
in other ways
outside
as
of
well.
just those
Listen,
points that
little
he's scoring.
extracurricular activity doesn't never
Oh
hurt.
man,
But
yeah.
that keeps 4 cars in the race because on any given day, Ferrari can show up. And if Ferrari shows up or gets a little bit more performance out of that car, they're going to fight their way back into contention for, uh, for second place in the championship. Charles Leclerc is 104 points. George Russell's 136. That's a pretty decent gap, but 2, 3, 4 races with Charles Leclerc getting better points. And again, yeah, really close year, close racing. But
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard. I mean, Ferrari is. I mean, they're on the ropes. They got to make a change. It's time for Fred to go. Fred Vasseur. Vasseur.
Quick reaction.
Yeah.
Reaction. I know you tried to transition into this portion of the episode, but I'm gonna get one over on you. I'm gonna go right instead of left here. So
Okay.
I might
Hit
be
me.
ahead of you here.
Yep.
Who replaces Fred Vasseur?
If
We've got
they cut him.
if the rumors, if the hype is real,
Uh-huh.
okay. If it's time for him to go, which I don't know why.
Do I not get to answer? Will they actually cut Fred Vasseur?
Okay, we can start with that. Turn one. Quick reaction. Will they cut him?
No. Not this
Okay.
year. Not next year.
Okay. Turn 2. If they cut him, if you're wrong, who replaces him? Okay, I'll give you 2 options.
Okay.
Vowles, Horner.
Vowles. Horner.
Yeah. What other team principal is actually kind of performing? Actually, kind of like
Can you
getting
put
more
Horner
bang for the
with-
buck?
You can't put Horner with.
Well, there's
with
already been
Lewis.
rumors. There's already been. Well, why not?
Oh, I don't.
It's just as crazy to put Horner with Lewis as it is to put Lewis at Ferrari.
No, I disagree. I think because Toto Wolff and Horner are entirely 2 different people, as are Verstappen. Well, I don't know that Verstappen and Hamilton are that dramatically different, to be honest. But yeah, they're totally different.
I mean, Verstappen could just as easily go to Mercedes.
Vowles. If I got to choose between those, it's Vowles over Horner.
I feel like Vowles to Ferrari is kind of the same move as Toto to Mercedes back in the day, because Toto and Vowles. Toto was Williams' team principal.
Right.
Went up to Mercedes. Vowles worked under him. I'm not sure if they worked together at Williams or not, but Vowles was at Mercedes and then has kind of shown some form or shown some potential with what Williams has and turned it into something better than zero, better than the last place.
Yeah.
So I think I would agree with you that Vowles is a better. I'd throw Horner in there as an option because there have been rumors that Horner once turned down the offer or the interest or whatever you want to say. I don't think he had like an actual dollars and cents figure in front of him. I think what the rumor is that when Mattia Binotto was on the outs and Ferrari was looking for a replacement, Horner was in contention or Horner was sought after, which makes sense. At the time, he was sort of at the top, right? He had the best performing team.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think the Christian Horner of 2022, 23 is perceived very differently than the Christian Horner of 2025. I don't want to be unfair to Christian Horner. I think there was the whole deal that came up a couple of years ago with the text messages. Was that last year? But that was all sort of It seems fine, and I don't think it's fair to say, well, I know better because I don't have the slightest idea what went on there, and so we're going to be fair with that and say he was acquitted, right, on all charges or whatever kind of thing.
If the glove doesn't fit,
you must acquit. That's right. So I don't want to be unfair to Christian Horner, but it just seems like, I'll just say it this way. It seems like this year, the shine has worn off a little bit of Christian Horner.
Yeah, he's a little bit damaged goods. I mean, we can call a spade here. Yeah.
So I don't see him going to Ferrari. I don't think he's got the clout to go to Ferrari. I'm a little confused, though, about, is this Fred Vasseur's 3rd season as team principal? It's 2003,
Second.
4?
I think, wasn't there someone else after Mattia Binotto?
I'm not sure.
So a little bit of trivia we need to verify here quickly.
my point is, no matter what it is, it doesn't seem like he's have that much time, and he's had pretty good performance.
I mean, you can't credit him for bringing Lewis Hamilton over.
He probably was Hamilton over.
I think he should get a little bit of
or fighting for second place in the Constructors' Championship a couple years in a row here now. I don't know. It seems like they've had a good year, and given the year that they're having now, and they're still in contention in the Constructors' Championship, at least for second. I don't know. I don't see that happening, but if it does,
I think you're right. He's been team principal since 2023. Although I will say he's only one of 2 French team principals since, if you don't count one Monegasque, since 1973. So,
well.
But yeah, 2023, 2024, and now this year. So this is his 3rd year as principal.
I don't think Fred's leaving, and I don't think Horner's going over. If I had to choose between Horner and Vowles, I'd say Vowles, but I don't think it's Vowles. I think we got to look at Guenther Steiner. It's time to bring in the Steiner. It's time. They've gone far enough. He worked for the junior team down in Haas, and now he's ready to move up to the premium team.
I cannot imagine the content that would come from Steiner being Ferrari team principal. Honestly, I don't dislike or I have no preference with Vasseur, but honestly, I'm hoping for this combination of things. Steiner, team principal of Ferrari.
Oh, and as not a Scuderia Ferrari member fan, I just want to see that clash, because can you imagine the expectations from the Ferrari fans with the total lack of regard for expectations that Guenther Steiner has? Like, you need to answer for this, and he would just be like, beep, like, don't talk to me. I don't want to answer any questions.
No, we don't. Hey, and don't slam my door, please.
Yeah. All right. No, I don't think he leaves. Okay, I got a quick reaction for you. This one takes a little setup. Well, I'll just ask you. Who does George Russell drive for in 2026? That's a big one. I got there. You had a chance to ask me first, but I got you.
His contract does expire at the end of the year. He does not have a contract with Mercedes.
Yeah. You're stalling.
For 2026.
You're stalling.
You're right. One side of my brain's just like spitting out nonsense, and the other side of my brain's like, what are we going to say?
Vamp, man. Just distract him for a minute.
So here's what I think. There's all this talk about who the drivers for Cadillac are going to be.
Yeah.
Right? George can probably, with the performance that he's had, with the pretense, whatever he's got, whatever his razzle dazzle is, he is a performer. He is well prepared. He is tall, handsome. He fits the part. He is a Formula One driver. If he thinks he's on the outs at Mercedes, if he thinks that Antonelli is going to get preference from Toto, which we know Antonelli is the apple of his eye at this break right now.
Yes.
If you watch that,
I think he
22 minute
for him.
Yesterday. Right. Yeah. Yeah. If you watch the 22-minute WhatsApp commercial on Netflix.
I did.
What was it called again? Who knows?
The Sea.
Who cares? That's right.
And I watched most of it for the parts I was awake for.
If you watched it, you will know that Antonelli is the apple of Toto's eye. And George must be feeling, this guy actually is good.
Yeah.
I don't know what my future at Mercedes really is.
Yeah.
If I had a better car last year or 2 years ago, maybe I could be in like a stronger position. But at the end of the day, he's got a bit of a decision to make with does he keep kind of chasing the dream at Mercedes, or does he just go take the money and hope for something good and keep the lifestyle and stay on the grid, etc. To me, there's a spot at Cadillac. And I think if George Russell threw his name in that hat among Checo Perez, IndyCar driver that we don't really know much about, Drugovich, Bottas, it's hard to see a scenario where Cadillac wouldn't be like, oh no, Russell's like, if he wants it, he's got it. He's our number one pick, and then we'll figure out who else to put next to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you think George Russell is going to Cadillac in 2026?
I don't. I think he's the smart move would be to try to give it one more year, one more stint with Mercedes. But, Mercedes is going to have their pick. And again, I think Antonelli gets the preference. But if he does like a Daniel Ricciardo and he's like, no, they want this young guy to be good. Let me go take the money at Renault.
Is George Russell running from a fight? That's what what's that guy's name? State the obvious.
Buxton. Will Buxton.
Yeah. Honestly, listen, for those of us who joined F1 a little bit late, we like people who state the obvious for us. All right. Well, I just wanted to ask because, I don't know if you heard, Daniel, the hot news. George Russell's out of contract and Mercedes definitely wants to retain him, of course.
Of course. We love George.
We are very eager to retain him.
We should like to have him around another couple of years.
That's right. Red Bull, Horner had talks with him, apparently. Aston Martin has, quote, emerged as an option. He was seen talking to Zach Brown, and he hugged, or technically what I saw was he embraced Flavio. So,
wow.
Which I think, by the way, the last one was just a coordinated effort by Toto to scare George into staying. It's like, hey, Flavio.
Yeah,
hey, go embrace Flavio. Give a hug to George.
Go get in his inner circle over there. See what he, just taking all the sights and smells. See what you think.
Don't you know that's got to be a sketchy conversation? Because you'd be like, hey, Flavio, and he'd be like, hey, as soon as you want to come here, I'll cut these guys loose. And you're like, holy cow, he will like straight up gut you if he sees another driver in front of you.
Yeah. Hey, Flavio, what's going on? I'm thinking of a number, 1 to 1,000,000. If you can guess it, the seat's yours.
That's
okay, Flavio. I'll get back to you.
That's the number of races you get to drive before I fire you.
Right.
All right. Well, on that note, that's probably time to wrap it up. It's been a fun week of news. We've got Austria coming up next, the Red Bull home circuit.
Another 2-week stretch.
Another 2 weeks.
I don't know what Canada did to get 2 weeks on either side of it, but
they existed on the other side of the planet.
Yeah. Honestly, something to point out here is next year the schedule does change. Instead of having Monaco and Indy 500 on the same weekend, we will now have, I think it's Indy 500 Canada on the same weekend.
And we can finally dedicate the attention to Monaco that it deserves. Also, I think it
feels entitled to.
Yeah,
it's a logistical
the Miami Grand Prix in Canada, probably saving enough in gas and mileage to allow us to have V10s in 2026.
Whoa.
And on that hot take, we're gonna thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining the Critical Lap. If you have not yet subscribed or left a comment or something like that, please do so. Please subscribe, follow us where you can, share with a friend. We'll probably see you sometime through this week as we get some more news coming in.
And if you or someone you know works for or is close to someone who works for Bit of Honey,
listen, we've got to get in touch.
My
with these
supply
people.
is running low. I need a re-up on my Bit of Honey supply, please.
This is our ongoing bit, but the reality is I had a bit of honey like an hour ago, and I don't have a problem with admitting that. And with that, it's time to end. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks as always to the legendary Pit Wall producer, Chris P.
Crispy.
And we'll see you next time on the Critical Lap.
See you next time.